Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome along. Good to see you. Good to see a few of you online this morning. Back at it Monday, 4th of December, on the home stretch, folks. Who's looking forward to a little bit of a Christmas break? I certainly am. Just a bit of a longish year this year, isn't it? Hey, hello and good morning. Good to see a few of you there. Facebook user, whoever you are, good to see you. Jeff in the house, good morning, mate. Luke, always up and at it. Chris, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Thanks for joining Wealth Coffee Chats this morning. Most of you know what's going on, but I'll do the quick intros. Jason Witten's my name, as it says down there. Most of you know that, though, but if you're new, welcome, hello. Good to have you here. What is this all about? Well, each day we get together and we talk about a few things when it comes to property investing. The idea of building a property investment portfolio, I think, is misunderstood. Over the last 20 years, I've been helping property investors buy and try and keep. And I've got a few tips for you. Well, one, buy good property and keep it as long as you can, if not forever. But, you know, there's a few addendums to that one. But simply, folks, buy great property, keep it in your portfolio and let it do its thing. If you want wealth, if you want cash flow, you want income, you want some financial freedom in the future, well, property can make up a good part of that. That is for sure. If you do it well, if you do it properly, that's what we sort of hang around and talk about. It's not get rich quick. That is for sure. If you're into that, this is the wrong place. This is the wrong place. There you go. Anyway, I got a bit distracted. Good morning, Tim. How are you, mate? Yeah, there's been a few storms floating around. Hopefully everyone's well. This time of year, isn't it, really? This time of year. Hey, this morning I thought we might talk about a little bit of something that I hear a bit, and often it concerns people, and rightly so. The idea of a negative cash flow property. And, the idea that, the nirvana is everything is positive cash flow. You buy a piece of real estate and, it's positive cash flow, and right from the outset, it's a cracker or whatever. Got a few damn mozzies around, actually. The heat and the heat and the wet, Tim, has got them out. Anyway, distracted again. Stay on track, Jason. Sometimes we get a bit concerned about negative cash flow, having a negative cash flow property, and we might buy something. It was well cash flowed to begin with, and our interest rates rise. And so, that is affecting, a few people right now, either realistically in their pocket or psychologically in their momentum. They're moving forward. And I wanted to talk about that today because I've had a few questions about it. Is it worth buying property? Should I wait? Blah, blah, blah. And the answer is no, you shouldn't wait. I always say no because you don't know what will change in the future for you. If you can buy and you're ready to buy, let's get on with it. The ebb and flow of cash flow happens over time. You don't get to control that directly, but let's manage that. Let's have a look at that today. So that's what I thought we might have a yarn about today. And manage what we might think about that as we go. So let's have a look. What's been going on? Unless you're living under a rock. Hey, good morning, Kevin. Good to see you, mate. All the way from Florida. Good to see you, Andrew. Thanks for joining, mate. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've seen the cash rate and thus, folks, the interest rate go up. Now, pretty normal. I think we've had some more over time here. But we've had sort of the fastest interest rate rises in Australian history. Pretty interesting. Well, not really. And when you think about the idea of mean reversion, if you guys listen to Sam and most mean reversion, well, when you've got a long-term kind of average, and if something goes up, then something comes down. Often it kind of averages out this mean as we go along, right? But anyway, this mean reversion, interest rates were the lowest ever in history, down around 2%. And now they're up around long-term normals, which is around that 6%, 6-ish percent, whatever it might be. And, depending on what you're borrowing or who you are, depending on your income, depending on where you're borrowing from, 6 and 7s. All right. So, what does that do for us as property investors? Gives us a bit of the heebie-jeebies. It affects some of our cash flow sometimes. Is it something that should stop us? The question is, if we're worried about negative cash flow, should we go and hide in the corner and that's it? We're done and dusted, right? So tell me in the chat, folks, and many of you who listen, know that you shouldn't be hiding in the corner, worried about negative cash flow. You should investigate, you should navigate, you should create strategies and or acquisition. If you're in the acquisition phase, if you're in the buying phase, the building phase of your portfolio, well, it shouldn't stop you. You can do many different maneuvers in property investing that can help you with that stuff. So is negative cash flow worrying you, folks? Put a yes or no in the chat. And what are you doing about it? If you've got some suggestions, chuck it in there. I'm going to talk to you about, analyzing it today, because cash flow, only cash flow, looking at a property investment as only the result. I will do it only if the cash flow is positive, and I won't do it if the cash flow is negative. Not if it's planned. Exactly, Marcus. I think that's great. Yep. Certainly you make a good point, Marcus. If it's planned, great. And for all of us as property investors, we know that we've got to have some plans in there for unplanned events. We'll get to that. So we've had a bit of a rate rise. There's potentially negative cash flow around. What have we been doing? And a few things that for us as property investors, we could look into the future and see a couple of things. Now, what do you guys think into the future? I've got one here already. If our property has some negative cash flow connotations right now, there are two things in the future that are going to change that pretty significantly. All right. Now, what's one? None of us are going to influence. Actually, both of them we're not going to influence. But tell me in the chat, what are the two things that in the future, and I would say within 12 to 24 months, okay, 12 to 24 months, these two things will change in the positive for you. So the cash flow would turn be more positive than it is, let's say, right now for you as a property investor. Let's say in the next 12 to 24 months, there's two things that are going to turn and go in your direction. What are they, folks? Put that in the chat, because we've got to think about this as investors. All right, are we going to stop? Are we going to get out of the market for 2 years? and wait. You and I chatted about this the other day. If you were on my other Wealth Coffee chat in the morning, that if you wait 2 years, something else is going to happen, and the property prices will go up, right? So more tax deductions. Yeah, you get like to be honest, if your costs go up, you get more tax deductions. You're dead right. So what are we doing here? So number one, the interest rates are going to come down. Okay, they're going to come down. The cash rate will be reduced. Every time the cash rate's gone up, folks, it goes up, stays around for a bit, and then come down. Let's say 1%. 1% over time. Interest rates down, rents up. Exactly, Jeff, you're on it. And your rents will go up. Right? Rents will go up. Now, there's a few conversations around talking about, how much. There's certainly some conversation of, 30% growth in rents. But let's just say, I don't know, let's just say 20% growth over a 2-year period. And maybe that's a bit big. But, you can muck around with calculators and have a look at it, right? So interest rates 1% down, rents 20% up, even if it's 10%, you can have a look. What would, does that give us some thoughts, ideas into the future? Many people can't afford to buy exactly Nazmal. And this is the thing. The cost to produce apartments and houses have gone up. That's not coming back down. The population is up. Population is up. And demand is up because the supply of everything is down, right? So there are many positives going on when it comes to the world of property investing. And what often we do, and especially if it's planned or not planned, we overvalue or we and I would say it would overvalue it. We give too much credence to not doing something because of negative cash flow, and we just ignore everything else, right? So I think that's why most of us need a second or third eyeball, like sets of opinions on it, especially proper ones, not someone from a barbecue, by the way, like a good professional, a person who's an investor and a coach. You guys know this, to help you through this stuff. Because, most economists economists are pretty useless most of the time, but they're all sort of going, oh, I think it's going to go up. I think property prices are going to go up. I think values are going to go up. I think rents are going to go up. NAB's in there, CBA's in there, ANZ's in there, Westpac's in there, Andrew Wilson's in there. So everyone's saying, all right, we think it's going to go up. We think the interest rates will go down. We think the values will go up. We think the rents are going to go up. So then, if armed with that info, and you and I double check some of our data, and, as we did the other day, what does that mean? Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's have a look at, all right, Jason, it's all good to talk about, opinions and other bits and pieces, but let's just do some real cash flow. So let's go and have a look at this, folks. Let's go and have a look at what would it take? What changes need to happen? And how do we analyze this, right? So I've just put in here, let's go purchase a $750,000 house in Brisbane. Okay, that's what I put in there. I've done 100% loan. So the loan down here is using equity from an existing property. You can put cash in there if you want to. If you got some cash, you might put some cash in. I've got some rates, insurances, letting fees, property management. Now I've put interest only, 6.5%. You could probably get a bit less, but I'm just putting 6.5% there. All right, interest only. All right, tell me in the chat, folks, what do you do when it comes to your property investments? The type of lending. It is 5 years interest only, then P&I if it knocks into shape, or then extend it another 5 years for interest only. Make sure you kick the loan down for 30, and then you can, after that, you can kick it into P&I if you want to. It'll pay itself off, right? So the first 5 to 10 years, interest only. And what else? What else do you need in your boom, Marcus, you're on it, right? And what happens is you've got to have a buffer, okay? So what's your buffer, folks? I always say every single property that you have, you've got to have a cash buffer or equity buffer sitting in and off unforeseen circumstances. I say a minimum of $5,000, but a maximum of 10. That's what I say, especially if it's a brand new property. Okay, brand new. So that's the drill. Anyway, here's where we are. Let's have a look at the cash flow. We bought a property. I've put some rent in there, $700 a week. A couple own it 50-50, let's say. You could do 75. You could do 75-25 if you wanted to, or whatever. Who knows? Like whatever that is. And I've put 5% capital growth, CPI, and then I've put the depreciation in there. All right. So let's have a look at what happens here for the cash flow. One year income buffer. Okay, good. That's excellent, Marcus. You've got to have a buffer, folks. You've got to have something there. All right. Let's go and have a look at our cash flow in here. And we go, oh, gee, before tax, negative 20 grand. You're like, holy shit. Okay. After tax, negative 10 grand. And you're like, okay, that's a lot of dough, Jason. I'm a bit bloody. I don't know about this, right? I don't know about this. Well, here's the drill, right? For the moment, it's going to take a little bit to get your property going. And will it stay that way forever? Well, what would it take for this to change? And what would it take for that to transform? Now, a few things here, right? What do you do to help your cash flow? Anyone who has a PAYG income, what do you do? What do you absolutely do? What do you do for increasing your cash flow as a property investment owner if you have a PAYG income? Tell me in the chat, folks. What's that? What do you do? You can put that in there, but you do a PAYG variation. You claim your tax weekly, fortnightly, monthly, don't you? All right. So you claim it back as you go, ladies and gents. You claim it back as you go because that helps you with your cash flow. So at the end of the year, you're like, oh, that's it, it's done. I lost $10,000. Well, did you? No, you didn't. Your property value increased. Let's say your value went up 5%. We chucked it in here. So if the value of your property went up 39,000, you minus your cash flow, and then you're up 30,000. Now, I don't know about you, but is that an all right return, folks? What do you reckon? You put in 10 grand and you get 30 back. I think that's okay. Can it improve? Will it stay that way forever? No, it won't. Watch this. All right, let's go and have a look at this. Let's say the interest rates go down 1%, it's 5.5. And let's say the rent goes up $100. Let's go 800. All right. Everyone cool with that? Let's have a look at what happens there to the cash flow. All right. That's not bad, is it? So the cash flow, negative pre-tax, 7 grand. After tax, pretty close to being positive cash flow, folks. Yeah, nearly neutral. All right. Let's just kick that back into, let's go 820. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, pretty close anyway. There you go. Right. So if you have a look at that, interest rates down a bit, rents up a bit, voila, the property turns into something much more palatable as you go when it comes to your cash flow. All right. So, and you're still getting capital growth, ladies and gents, folks, as you go along. So, do you want to have a lot of negative cash flow in your portfolio? No, you don't. I mean, your cash flow can only go so far, folks, can't it? Your cash flow can only go so far. And you want to make sure you manage and navigate that well as you go. So should it stop you? No, the answer is no. It shouldn't stop you at all. But I like what Marcus said before. As long as it's planned and you understand what you're doing, then you can navigate that stuff. And so I saw this calculator the other day, which was quite cool. I thought it was worth sharing. I don't know if I can make that a bit bigger. Here we go. Let's do this. Right. So the idea of, if you had to put $300 a week into a bank account, or you put $300 a week into a property, okay, as you go, depending on the return. Let's just say you get 5% return on cash and 5% return on property. You got an $800,000 property. There's no base capital. You're just saving money. You're putting it in the bank. Which one's better over time? And over a 15-year period, you'd end up with $348,000 in cash, your end value, and you get some returns and some income. But then if you put it into property, you put $300 a week. Now, you're not going to put $300 a week forever into a property. That is for sure. It might be 12 months. $1.6 million, $618,000 of capital gain, and $84,000 in cash flow. So, folks, the compounding effect of using some leverage and getting yourself an asset working certainly will outperform savings accounts and interest rates and bank accounts. That's for sure. Anyway, there you go. You guys know the drill. Money sitting in a bank account 99% of the time is making the bank money. Money in an offset account at least saves you interest. That's a good place to have it at the moment. If you haven't got the right deal yet, or you're still working out your strategy. But folks, let me tell you, if inflation keeps chipping away and prices continue to rise, which they will, if you're not in the market, the market is outpacing your ability to save. It's just you can't save fast enough to get ahead of the market, because the market, especially with property and assets, it gets leveraged and grows exponentially, and your cash does not grow exponentially unless it is in the market in things like, property and shares and other bits and pieces. Anyway, there you go. Hopefully that made sense, folks, this morning. Quick chat on, negative cash flow. If you're worried about it, fine. Nothing wrong with that. You should be, analyzing your cash flow. Should it stop you? If you're planned and you know what you're doing, analyze your cash flow, get the calculator, understand what the risks are for you, and keep going. Don't muck around, folks. Seriously, don't muck around. Anyway, there you go, folks. That's it. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted today. Over and out. I think that's we'll have another one tomorrow. Come and join me then if you're up for it. And yeah. All right, that's it. I've run out of words, maybe. Pretty unusual. All right, folks, that's it. Adios. Take care. Bye for now.